Today, we're going to unravel the Silent House case. It's a mystery that kicks off with one single, chilling text message and ends with a pile of clues that seem to contradict each other at every single turn. It all started with just 3 words, sent to 911 in the dead of night. No name, no address, no context at all. Just a terrifyingly simple statement that launched one of the most unsettling and bizarre unsolved cases you'll ever hear about. So let's start right there, with that message, and the home that had fallen completely and unnervingly silent. I mean, just try to put yourself in the dispatcher's shoes for a second. It's 2:17 in the morning, and this is all that comes through. He's in here. That's it. No location, no more details, and when they try to reply, nothing, just dead air. The feeling in that room must have been pure dread. So naturally, police scrambled. They used cell tower data, trying to triangulate where that signal came from. But, every single second counts in a situation like this. By the time they finally got a location and arrived at this quiet suburban house, whatever had happened had already happened. So, what did they find inside? Well, this wasn't just a simple break-in, not even close. What the evidence pointed to was a bizarre, completely impossible timeline of events. The house belonged to a 27-year-old woman named Emma Collins. And from everything we know, she lived a pretty quiet life. She worked from home, kept to herself. Her friends and neighbors said she was polite, private, and had no known enemies. She was the absolute last person you'd expect to be at the center of something like this. Okay, now this is where things get really, really weird. Look at this sequence. At 1:43 a.m., her alarm senses motion in the kitchen, but there's no sign of a break-in. Then, at 2:05, the system gets turned off from inside the house. A few minutes later, a neighbor hears 3 slow knocks coming from inside Emma's house. And just 6 minutes after that, the 911 text goes out. None of it adds up. And this is absolutely crucial. This wasn't a burglar cutting a wire from the outside or hacking the system. The alarm was shut down properly from the inside using the control panel on the wall. This leads to a pretty baffling question, right? If there's a dangerous intruder in your house, why on earth would you calmly walk over to the alarm panel and turn it off? And if it was the intruder, how did they know the code? And here it is, the first major paradox of the case. Forensics went over that keypad with a fine-tooth comb, and the only fingerprints they found? They were Emma's. The physical evidence suggested that she herself shut off her own security alarm just moments after it detected someone in her house. At this point, the investigation was at a total standstill. I mean, you have an impossible crime scene, no witnesses, no suspects. It was a dead end. Until analysts found a ghost in the machine. So it turns out that even though the system was shut down, it had managed to automatically upload just a few seconds of footage to the cloud right before it went dark. It was a tiny, fragmented clip from a camera in the hallway. The footage itself is incredibly eerie. There's no fight, no sign of panic. It just shows Emma standing perfectly still in her hallway. And she's not looking towards the door or a window. She's staring intently up the staircase. Now, there was no sound on the clip, but audio technicians worked for weeks trying to enhance the ambient noise. And eventually, they were able to isolate Emma's voice. A barely audible whisper that changed absolutely everything. All she said was, "You're early." So, wow, that just flips the whole investigation on its head. She wasn't surprised by an intruder. She was surprised by their timing. She was actually expecting someone to visit her after 2 a.m. But when police checked with her friends, her family, and looked at her calendar, nothing. Nobody was supposed to be there. That whisper, "You're early," it gave investigators their first and really their only solid lead, and it pointed them toward a man from Emma's past. His name was Daniel Reeves. He was a former coworker who, according to Emma's friends, had become pretty obsessive after she left their job. He'd been sending her a string of persistent, unsettling messages, but when police questioned him, he was just calm, almost detached about the whole thing. And this right here is where the case becomes so maddening for the police. On one hand, they search his apartment and find printed architectural blueprints of Emma's house. I mean, that's a massive red flag. But on the other hand, he had a rock-solid alibi. timestamp security footage showed him buying coffee 12 miles away at 2:18 a.m., exactly 1 minute after Emma sent that 911 text. At the end of the day, you can't argue with video evidence like that. With no DNA, no fingerprints at the scene, and a totally unbreakable alibi, investigators had their hands tied. They had no legal grounds to hold him. Daniel Reeves walked free, and the case went cold for years. So the case went cold for years. Nothing. But then, new technology gave a cold case team a reason to re-examine the crime scene, and it revealed one final and unbelievably ambiguous clue. Using new imaging techniques, the team took a second look at the carpet from the staircase, the exact spot Emma had been staring at, and hidden deep in the padding, they found a faint partial footprint that everyone had missed the first time around. This seemed like it was finally it, the breakthrough. The footprint was from a size 11 shoe, which immediately pointed the finger right back to their prime suspect. But in what has to be one of the most frustrating twists imaginable, the clue that should have solved everything just made the paradox deeper. Yes, Daniel Reeves, the main suspect, wears a size 11. But in an unbelievable coincidence, so did Emma Collins. The footprint could belong to the suspect, or it could belong to the victim. It was a complete dead end. And that's exactly where the case is today. It's just suspended in uncertainty. We're left with a timeline that makes absolutely no sense and a single piece of evidence that points to two people at once, which leaves us with the most haunting question of all. Did Emma let someone in that night? Or was the person she was talking to already inside?